Hello! We have one longer story today about a shop steward charged with defending a woman who thinks everyone should accommodate her because she just gives so much of herself to the job. Huh! Turns out she's taken way more than anyone and plenty of things she shouldn't have. Story 1. As I talked about the last time I posted in here, I work in a union shop and I've been a shop steward for most of my 25 plus year career. In that time, I've seen things, both figurative and literal, and every single time I've ever been unwary enough about how fate works to utter the words, "Now I've seen everything." The universe will inevitably hand me its beer and say, "Watch this." Stewards, despite the general perception of us, aren't there to defend employees who are accused of misconduct. We're there to defend the collective bargaining agreement, meaning, if you've well and truly screwed yourself and your future with the agency we both work for, my role is primarily helping you determine which of your options for leaving you're going to exercise. I've been at this rodeo for a long time, and management and I generally have a pretty good understanding of how things are going to go. Enter Jackie. Jackie was one of those unbelievably toxic, peaked in high school cheerleader types, with just enough understanding of what our employer does, how it's required to behave within federal guidelines, and what its obligations are when you utter certain mystical phrases like, "I need an accommodation," or discrimination based on a protected class. To be clear, those things are not just law, they're also morally right to be concerned about. And so my employer actually bends over backwards and does backflips to be certain that they're going above and beyond the minimum. Jackie was not a minority in any sense. She was female, but in a workplace that's 80% female, that doesn't quite count. She may well have been disabled, but that was undiagnosed, I think, and I'm inclined to think her claims of it, much like most of the rest of the things she said, were complete fabrications. The point at which I got involved was at the tail end of over a year's worth of actions by Jackie, in which it rapidly became apparent that her manager was, in fact, an excellent candidate for canonization. I got referred to her when one of my other union friends contacted me and said, "Hey, Jackie so and so just got put on administrative leave, and it's total BS. Can you help?" I get referrals like this a lot, both because I've been around forever and because I have a pretty good track record for ensuring that people accused of things they haven't actually done get treated fairly. So nothing stuck out to me as odd. I contacted her and she had absolutely no idea why management would put her on admin leave, without any warning, and confiscate all of her agency issued devices, access, and instruct her that she was not to have any contact at all with anyone she worked with during work hours. This immediately sent up a whole host of red flags. For one thing, I know the senior HR guy that is the HR analyst's boss who's involved. Having been down the road of difficult situation, but this is what we can do negotiation with him many, many times over the years. I don't always agree with him, but he's fair, and usually we can come to some sort of middle ground. At any rate, he would never suspend someone out of the blue without a really, really good reason. She knows what she's done. She has to. So I gave her my usual spiel of things to do and things you should not do. Don't tell me or our employer things that aren't true, especially if you think it'll make you look bad if you don't. Don't talk to your coworkers. Don't talk to your friends about this, particularly because you live in a town of under 2,000 people. Everyone knows everything about everyone else. Do not talk with management or HR without me present. Period. When they do start asking questions, keep answers simple, to the point, short, and do not give lengthy explanations. Tell them what they want to know and otherwise shut the heck up. I have been here and done this many times. I know this process very well. I can't tell you what they're going to do, but I can tell you what I think they're going to do, and I'm usually either right or pretty close to being right. I have been surprised. Nearly 3 weeks went by of radio silence from the agency, other than a bland sort of, "We want to talk with Jackie about utilization of work assignments, tasks, and equipment" email that tells you almost nothing while still being literally true. Finally, it was go time for a meeting, and I did something I haven't done in a really long time. I physically drove to Jackie's worksite instead of attending virtually, over an hour and a half each way. What the heck? The weather was nice. We met ahead of going in, and I asked her if she remembered the rules I gave her at the beginning. She said she did. I asked her if she'd been following them, and she said she'd been very careful to. Swell, in we go. During the meeting, it was almost immediately obvious to me from the questions they started asking that Jackie was in serious, serious trouble. Not like written warning or pay reduction. No, they were going to go for termination. And she was probably going to be very lucky if they decided not to refer it to the DA for criminal prosecution. An abbreviated summary of just the high points. Jackie had hundreds of confidential documents and electronic files in her personal possession, many of which fall squarely under HIPAA. She had emailed these out of the government system to one of the 4 or 5 personal email addresses she maintains. Her explanation for this was questionable. Jackie had logged overtime without permission, a lot. And on one memorable date, when she was vacationing in Europe with her family at the time, she said she'd called in to attend a meeting, but didn't have an answer why that meeting had apparently been 11.5 hours long, and nobody remembered her attending by phone. Jackie had audio recordings of disabled and elderly people with whom she was working that she had taken without their consent or knowledge. A lot of them. Jackie's overall work product and system activity reliably showed that she was logging in at the start of her day from home, and she worked some in the afternoon, but there were hours and hours of time when her computer was idle. She explained this as participating in union activity, which I knew was BS because Jackie is not a steward. Jackie has no idea what the collective bargaining agreement actually says about much of anything beyond stewards can do whatever they want and management can't say diddly, which is uninformed, shall we say? At any rate, steward activity must be recorded and time-coded as such. Jackie has never attended steward training and so didn't know this. Apparently, nobody ever told her that. There's more. There's so much more. But in the interests of brevity, I will summarize the next 4 months of my dealing with this woman by pointing back to the cardinal rules I gave her and simply say, she broke every single one of them. A lot. When it finally got to the dismissal hearing that comes before the "you're fired, get the frack out" letter, she told me going in that she wanted to run things. Because she had some stuff she wanted to cover that she thought I probably wouldn't be A, comfortable doing, true because it was irrelevant, B, didn't know much about, again true because she'd invented details, story, and witnesses as participants, and C, she felt like I wasn't really on her side in this to begin with. Not quite true. She was a member, so my job is representation here. So I said, I really don't think that's a good idea. I've done a lot of these. You should let me handle it. No, I know what I'm doing, and I talked with my attorney about this a lot. You can't stop me. You're right, I can't, but this isn't going to go the way you think it will. I know I'm right. They can't do this to me. This isn't a good idea, but okay, it's your show. In we went and sat down. The senior HR guy I mentioned earlier was there, and he gave me a funny look when I sat back, laptop closed, and said nothing. Dismissal meetings are actually our meeting, and we get to run them from start to finish. They're there to listen. She started talking. I have to give them credit. They took notes, listened to the things she said, and kept straight faces the entire time. It went exactly as I figured it would. Just the things they'd asked her about in the first of the several meetings I attended with Jackie had covered terminable offenses. That was on at least 4 or 5 different subjects, independent of one another. At the end, when she finally wound down, they all turned to me, Jackie included, and asked if I had anything I wanted to cover or that I thought may have been missed. Nope, I said. I think she covered everything already. I don't have anything to add. That afternoon, I got the union copy of her dismissal notice. Generally, they are open to at least discussing the option of the worker resigning and giving them a neutral reference going forward. But that wasn't in the cards. The last I heard of Jackie, the Department of Justice was involved with her and her husband, and I'm reasonably confident that it didn't go well for her either. I do know that she will never work for the government again, as the letter was pretty explicit about what information they would release to any government agency asking for a reference. So it goes, they followed the collective bargaining agreement, terminating her with ample just cause. In the comments, Coder Joe said, "What was that, Jackie? Oh, you need more rope? Sure, here you go." OP replied, "Giving rope to fools sometimes pays off. Of course, sometimes they also try to rope you in with them. Jackie actually at one point sent me for my records like I fracking wanted, needed, or was even interested in a brief glance at some of the material she'd accumulated, and which it was illegal to possess without a valid business purpose. I had a lengthy conversation with Union Legal on that one, followed by a hypothetically, if this were to happen, how would the agency prefer I handled such an event? Conversation with the senior HR guy. The look of pain on his face as he peeked from between his fingers at me was something I'd have enjoyed in another context, but all I could do was feel sorry for him. OP, how long had she been getting away with this crap? And how many shop stewards did she get through before getting dumped on your lap? And are you still friends with the fellow union rep that connected you with this wingbat? She definitely needed to go. Way to let it play out. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.